Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroham Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kant Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is Srimad Bhagavad-Gita as it is, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Today we're in Chapter 6. Chapter 6 is entitled Dhyana Yoga. In different editions, they give it a different title. Sometimes it's called Sankhya Yoga, sometimes it's called Ashtanga Yoga. Here it's called Dhyana Yoga. And we begin with text 27. We'll do both texts 27 and 28 tonight. So, please repeat after me. Text 27. Prashanta Manasam Hyenam Yoginam Sukhamuttavam Upaiti Shantarajasam Brahmabhutam Akalmasham. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus he is freed from all reactions to past deeds. Let's repeat this, please. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus he is freed from all reactions to past deeds. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Brahma Bhuta is the state of being freed from material contamination and situated in the transcendental service of the Lord. Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param. This is from Bhagavad-Gita 1854. One cannot remain in the quality of Brahman, the Absolute, until one's mind is fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord. Savai manaha Krishna padadavindayoho. To be always engaged in the transcendental, loving service of the Lord, or to remain in Krishna consciousness, is to be factually liberated from the mode of passion and all material contamination. I don't know how we want to do this. If we want to go on to the next verse first, or maybe I should just say what our predecessors have said about today's verse. So, Prashanta Manasam hyenam yoginam sukhamuttamam upaiti shantarajasam brahmabhutam akalmasham. 5 adjectives describe the yogi that Krishna is talking about in this chapter. How did this all begin? Way back in the beginning of this chapter, Krishna reminded Arjuna what all friends remind each other. Uddharet atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva hyatmano bandhur atmaiva ripuratmanaha. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well, depending on how you deal with your mind. And he explains that next. Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmanajitah anatmanastu shatrutve vardhitatmaiva shatruvat. To him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. And then in so many ways, he's gone on to describe this in detail. It's notable because today's verse, well, both of today's verses. Anyway, I'll return to that a little bit later. We can see in other places in the chapter where Krishna is actually paraphrasing some of the things that he's saying today. All right, so 5 adjectives we began. Prashanta Manasam. What does Prashanta Manasam mean? Prashanta, your mind is peaceful, tranquil mind. Raise your hand if you have a fully tranquil mind all the time. Yeah, I thought so. This is our eternal struggle, isn't it? How many lifetimes we're going on in this way? Prakriti sthani karshati, Krishna says later on. We're struggling with our senses, and the senses are, after all, the disciples of whom? Disciples of the mind. Mind is the guru. If you can convert the mind, then automatically the little disciples will follow. Just like you see. I don't know, here we don't have ducks in Vrindavan, but in countries where you see ducks, there's the mother duckling, mother duck, and all the little ducklings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they're all following in a line. So it's like that. The mind is the guru, and all little senses, they all follow. So Prashanta Manasam. Different acharyas have written different things about this. First of all, Ramanujacharya, very august commentator from the Sri Sampradaya, he says, he glosses Prashanta Manasam as Atmani Nishchala Manasam. When your mind is immovably fixed on the Atman. Another way, just in case we'd misunderstand that, he paraphrases in different words. Atmani Nyasta Manasam. Your mind is fixed only on the self, Atma. Now that's a problem because Atma can mean a few things. What does Atma mean? It can mean body. It can mean the mind. It can mean the self, the soul, spiritually. What else? Anything? It can also mean Paramatma. So we'll leave that for now. But it's a nice progression. Ramanujacharya sets the tone for all later commentators. He says, first of all, that has to happen. The mind has to become fixed on the self. Tata eva. Only then do you get dagda shesha kalmasham. whatever sins you have committed, they will be burnt up. They'll be burnt up when your mind is peaceful. Datta, which is to say that when your sins are burned up, then your mind can be peaceful. He's actually going in the other direction. Datta eva, he says, shantarajasam. That means when you are freed from the mode of passion, is being singled out here, which means vinashta rajogunam. Rajoguna is destroyed. Tata eva brahmabhutam. Then you get brahmabhutam status. And how does he define that? Swarupena avasthitam. To be situated in your own constitution. Does that sound familiar? Do we know a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam that says something very similar to this? Who's reading Prabhupada's books? Yes. Yes. We're talking about swaswarupena avasthitam. This is his definition of brahmabhutam. To be situated in your own constitution. What verse am I thinking of? Muktir hidvanyata rupam swarupena vyavasthitihi. This is in the... Sorry? Yes, from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Mukti simply means to be situated in your own constitutional position. And that's essentially the same thing as what he's saying here is Atmani Nishchala Manasam, to have your mind fixed only on the Atma. And that the natural consequence is that you get the first adjective. How many adjectives? I said it twice. 5 adjectives. So Prashanta Manasam, this is the first qualification. Yoginam, we're talking about the yogi. And then, what else does he get? Shantarajasam, we've described. The mode of passion is subdued or even destroyed. Let's see if Sridhar Swami says something a little different about this. He says, Prashanta mano yasyatameva nishkalamasham. He has no sin. He has no sin. His commentary is very basic. What does Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur or Baladev Vidyabhushan puts it very nicely. Akalmasham. What does it mean? Praktana sukshma dosha dugdham. Praktana sukshma dosha dugdham. Some people can understand these terms. It means these subtle flaws that are within each of us, that we're carrying with us from how many lifetimes past, we don't know. These things become burned up. In other words, he's talking about kusamskaras, bad samskars. What does samskara mean? Samskara. Impression. Yes. Like when we print a book. Pratama samskarana, dvitiya samskarana, tritiya samskarana, ityadi. So, impression. Whenever we do something in this world, and we don't even have to do anything, whatever we experience in this world, passively, it leaves an impression. And it formulates a particular psychology that we're going to carry with us from life to life via the sukshma shirira. Sukshma shirira means the subtle body. So praktana sukshma dosham. Those flaws that we've brought with us from the impressions of so many past experiences, most likely bad, but even so-called good ones are actually bad in this world because they necessitate further rebirth. These things have to become burned up. And how are they burned up? They're burned up through realization. I'm not this body, which is what we're talking about, Brahmabhuta realization. Okay, so this is what Ramanujacharya says. And Srila Prabhupada emphasizes, he takes us straight to the conclusion, practical, easy, simple conclusion. You do this by practicing Krishna consciousness. What does it mean to practice Krishna consciousness? Does it mean that you associate with yourself with a society for that purpose? Well, yes, that's part of it. But essentially it means somehow or other you have to fix your mind on Krishna. Remember, this is what Ramanujacharya has told us in the beginning. Somebody else put it a different way. Sridhar Swami says, Evam pratyahadibhi punaha punar mano vashikurvantam rajoguna kshaye sati yoga sukham prapnoti. This is what's being described in this verse. Through the practice of the Ashtanga Yoga system, which is being described in this chapter, and in particular one aspect of Ashtanga Yoga he mentions. What are the eight aspects of Ashtanga Yoga, the eightfold path? It begins with Yama, means your social responsibility. You don't steal from people, you don't treat others badly, etc., etc. There are certain disciplines. Yama, that's called. Control yourself. Be a human being. Be nice. Be civil. That's the first thing. And then there's personal responsibility also. That's called niyam. And nobody knows whether you're doing it or not. You have to control your own mind. You have to do so many things inside. This is the second thing. And to help you do that, we have asanas. You practice, Surya Namaskar, some Shirshasana, so many things people do. And the idea there is that you can also focus on pranayama. Pranayama parayanaha. Krishna mentions elsewhere in Bhagavad-Gita. Breathing exercises that help to still the mind. The mind is so crazy all the time. The mind is worse than 3 television sets on steroids. Nowadays they don't watch television, so 1,000 cell phones displaying YouTube at full blast simultaneously. This is the mind. So pranayam, asana, all these things are meant for this purpose. Then what do you do? After pranayam, what comes next? Which is this pratyahara. And this is what Sridhar Swami mentions. Pratyaharadibihi. What does pratyahara mean? Withdrawing. Literally it means to withdraw. Ahara. What does ahara mean? We generally take that it means to eat. Correct? Ahara. Where else have we heard this in Bhagavad-Gita? Yukta ahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karnamasva ityadi. So ahara means not literally, it means not just to eat, but to take in. This is what we do. Ahriti. To take something in. Everything that we survey in life, we're thinking about how to bring it into ourselves, isn't it? We want to see it all, we want to hear it all, we want to do it all, we want to eat everything we want. That's why the senses, they're called cows. Go. What happens, whatever you put, eatables, since we're talking about ahara, what happens when you put anything edible in front of a cow? You know what happens. Last night we had some extra chapatis. Handful, 8 chapatis, a stack. So I took it out and I gave it to one of the cows on the street. Those of you who live near MVT, you may recognize. Big Papa Bull, he comes every night. Brown one, horns down. So he just instantly, in 2 seconds, he quaffed a whole handful of chapatis just like that. So this is why we call the senses go. They're just like cows. They cannot discipline themselves. You have to discipline them. Therefore, Bilvamangalacharya says that he has quoted a nice verse. He's written a nice verse. Swagochare charya kim adiyam upekshase gama bhate vrajantim yad gopanatha kriyate kadachin nachetasapi tvayavritta bhangaha. My dear Lord, you're called Gopanatha, or Gopala, we say, Gopala, Lord of the cows, protector of the cows. Please herd my cows into your field. He's using a pun on the word go. Can't you see that my cows they're running all over the place? This is what our senses do when we don't allow Gopala to rein them in. So he says, please, who can imagine that a person who's called Gopala would ever even think of losing a cow or letting a cow go unrestrained like this? Lapse in duty, vritti bhanga. We don't have a concept of duty in the modern world. Everyone assumes that life is just meant for taking everything in, as we've described. But actually, dharnamasya hina pashupisamana, without considering dharma first, a human, so-called human being, biologically correct human being, but if he doesn't control his senses, if he's not thinking about how to elevate himself while he can, by his mind, then he's no better than a cow. Gokara, cow or an ass. Sa eva gokara. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he came here to Vrindavan, he saw in the Yamuna River, and he thought, Chirananda Bhano Sadananda Sunoho. This holy river is Satchit Ananda, always connected with the son of Maharaj Nanda, and Para Prema Patri. She is the embodiment of transcendental love of Godhead. Para Prema Patri, Drava Brahma Gatri. She is liquid spirituality. Drava Brahma Gatri. Her body is made out of Brahman, but it's in liquid form, flowing form. This is Yamuna. And moreover, he feels Aghanam Lavitri. She destroys all the sins of a person who bathes in her waters. Therefore, she's Jagat Kshema Dhatri. She's the receptacle of all benefit for humankind. He said, my dear Yamuna, Pavitri Kriyan no Vapur Mitraputri. Please purify me as well. This is how he was praying. When we approach Yamuna, we have to very submissively offer our obeisances, say Achmana, by taking some water on our heads, offering some water back to Yamuna, and praying that please purify me. Hote, hote. By gradually, when we do this every day, then the mind also becomes stilled. It also becomes purified. It also becomes elevated. But a person who comes and just sees potential for a hydroelectric dam, that person is in the mode of passion. A person who only comes and sees water for sense gratification, let's have water sports. They do this now, believe it or not. You can go to the Himalayas and have white water rafting on the Ganga. They actually do this. Indians, believe it or not. This is the new generation. So, sa eva gokara. But even a person who comes and feels that his duty is done when he only takes a bath, even if he's somewhat conscious that this is a goddess I'm dealing with, even that person is only a cow or an ass. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was displaying his great Krishna consciousness because that was his purpose in coming to this world. Bhaktavatar. Anyway, so how do we get on this topic? We're talking about to control the senses and to elevate oneself by the mind and by the senses. Pratyahara. Sridhar Swami says, in this way meaning all the 26 verses that have preceded what we're discussing tonight, we have to withdraw our senses and our minds from material engagements. Punah punaha. Again and again we have to do this. It's not going to be easy. Vashikurvantam. Vashikurvantam means somehow you subjugate this mind after long practice. And Rajaguna Kshayi Sati. When Rajaguna is finally minimized, Yoga Sukham Papnoti. Then we get Yoga Sukha. It's described in different ways. Baladev Vidabhushan says, because the word is used here, well, I'll let that wait until the next verse. Okay, so Brahma Samsparasham. That's also the next verse. So maybe it's time to go on. But anyway, the salient point is this, that Srila Prabhupada immediately brings us to the practical conclusion, simple conclusion. Just worship Krishna in pure devotional service. Fix your mind on the Lord, as did Ambarish Maharaj. Be always engaged in transcendental, loving service. We're talking about Krishna consciousness, we said already. It doesn't just mean you begin to associate with members of a particular society by that name. There are three qualifications that are mentioned in this phrase that Prabhupada uses again and again and again and again throughout his books. Look in the final sentence of the purport. Transcendental loving service. What does transcendental mean? Brahmabhuta. You're in touch with your spiritual identity. Not bewildered by these extrinsic things that attack us 24/7, via the mind, mainly. So transcendental means that it is effected on the liberated platform. That is the first qualification, actually, to practice real devotional service. Param bhaktim, which he mentions in the verse Prabhupada quotes from chapter 18. Let's all turn off our cell phones, those who have not yet done so, please. So transcendental is the first qualification. Loving is the other qualification. It has to have some bhava. Buddha bhava samanvitaha, Krishna says elsewhere in the Gita. Means it cannot be impersonal. We find quite often so-called bhakti. In America, they have Mayavadis put together a festival they call Bhakti Fest. So I told someone I know that actually it should be called Bhukti Fest, not Bhakti Fest. Because they're all hippie types and they're going there and they're taking intoxication and they're making so many wrong connections. Bhukti, material existence, mundane enjoyment. Actually, bhakti means it should be transcendental, loving service. So bhakti means this thing only. You're dealing with a person. We find that those who have taken to the impersonal path, they have so-called bhakti. This is the point of this so-called bhakti fest. But because they don't want to acknowledge or they don't want to surrender more pointedly, they don't want to actually surrender to the Supreme Person. Therefore, they have to remain enmeshed in so much bhakti. This is the problem with impersonalism. So loving means it has to be a person. We heard this morning from Harishari Prabhu. So, and then finally, Prabhupada is ever the pragmatician. What does he say? Transcendental loving and service. You have to do something. Do something. This is the point. You have a choice to make. Just like when you're in an elevator. We call it lift. When you get to the floor, the door opens, and you have to make a choice, don't you? Well, you don't, actually. You can stay in the elevator if you want to, but you have to understand that this elevator is not going to stay here. So if you make the choice to do nothing when the elevator door opens, that means you're going somewhere else. And human life is just like that. You have a short window of opportunity in which you have to make a choice. The choice is, do I recognize Krishna as a person? Do I cultivate my spiritual consciousness such that I get this swaswarupa avastitam situation described by Ramanujacharya, Brahmabhuta Gyan? And do I do something for Krishna, for his pleasure, not mine? Like when we do the yajnas, right? Yajnas, what do we say? Idam Krishnaya, idam namama. This is for Krishna, this is not for me. This is the choice, the fundamental choice that should define human existence. So transcendental loving service. Very, very rich phrase that Srila Prabhupada uses again and again throughout his books. So this is what it means to remain in Krishna consciousness and to be factually liberated from the mode of passion and all material contamination. Do we have any questions at this point, or shall we move on to text number 28? Because it's... Okay. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Now, Maya is also a manifestation of Krishna's energy.
Yes.
Okay? So why not embrace it fully, with detachment, of course, keeping Krishna in the center. And enjoy movies, enjoy music, enjoy sports, with detachment, of course.
With what?
With detachment.
With detachment.
That you shouldn't get engrossed in it, you shouldn't get,
How can you not get engrossed in material enjoyment when you indulge in it? This is the question.
Krishna's in the center.
Krishna's in the center.
So you are aware of Krishna consciousness, and you are aware of spirituality.
Yes.
You follow everything.
Okay.
But why not, so that 99% of the world is following Maya.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So if you take that path, I think you'll have more effect on the deprived 99%.
Mm. Because
and
we
understand Krishna conscious and embrace it more.
Yes.
Completely, and still, because Maya is not bad. I mean, it's Krishna's energy. How can it be bad? It's created by Krishna.
I understand your point. Those who pratyahara, those who practice removing themselves from society, they maybe wear saffron cloth, they live in a cloistered environment, in an ashram or something, they have minimal engagement with the material world, they make advancement. But they lose touch with, as you said, 99% of the population who cannot relate with that. So what to do? Therefore, our philosophy is, what do we call? Yukta vairagya. Anasaktasya vishayan yatharham upayunjataha. What is it? Nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yukta vairagya mochete. Real renunciation means to accept everything in this world, but for its proper purpose. What is that proper purpose? To give pleasure to Krishna. Devotees also make movies, devotees also watch movies, but they're movies only about Krishna. And devotees also eat the best foodstuffs in the world. That is a fact. But first they offer everything to Krishna for his pleasure, and then they take his prasadam. In this way, devotees do everything. Prabhupada said, we have the best music, we have the best food, we have the best everything. It is improper renunciation to just throw things away as if they were inútil, as they say in Spanish, useless. But the deeper renunciation is to actually employ everything in the service of Krishna. I think this is what you're saying. However, at that point, it ceases to be Mahamaya. It becomes, well, it becomes uncurdled, you can say. It becomes Yogamaya at that point. The pivot is your intention. Are you surrendering to Krishna for his pleasure? Or are you trying to become Krishna? In the former case, then you're dealing with Yogamaya. In the latter case, you're dealing with Mahamaya. So that's not an easy thing to do. In principle, what you're proposing is ideal. But practically speaking, it takes years of training. We see practically, it's not so easy. That's why we have spiritual masters. They can guide us. Because if you, well, as Krishna told Uddhava in the 11th canto, Swaya swayadhikare ya nishtha sa guna parikirtitaha. It is praised when you do exactly what you're qualified to do. Nothing more and nothing less. Because if you attempt something less than what you have adhikar for, then you fail. I'm sorry, you don't meet your full potential. And it's a vulnerable position to remain in because you will fail eventually. If you attempt something more than what you have adhikar for, then again you fail because you're not there yet. You see? So you have to be right on it. That requires guidance and the direction of someone who is tattvadarshi, as Krishna says in chapter 4 of this Bhagavad-Gita. In other words, you don't want to be overqualified and you don't want to be underqualified as well. Both of those are considered to be flaws. But saguna parikirtata, sway adhikare yanishta, when you do exactly what you're qualified to do. So, how do we employ all this world, everything that we see in Krishna's service? We have no idea. But a bona fide pure devotee, acharya, who is empowered and guided by Krishna himself, he knows. Aham vedmi shuko veti, vyaso veti na veti va. Anyway, that's another story. Lord Shiva knows, Shukdev Goswami knows, Vyas may know or he may not know. Lord Shiva said this. But by the grace of the Lord, one can be enlightened in this way. Okay, is that okay? Satisfactory answer? I'm going to move on now because we have some time. Text number 28. Yunjannevam sadatmanam yogi vigata kalmashaha sukhena brahma samsparasham atyantam sukhamut ashnute. Thus, the self-controlled yogi, constantly engaged in yoga practice, becomes freed from all material contamination and achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness in transcendental loving service to the Lord. There we have that shibboleth again. Transcendental loving service. We've already described it. Prabhupada uses it again. Purport. Self-realization means knowing one's constitutional position in relationship to the Supreme. The individual soul is a part and parcel of the Supreme, and his position is to render transcendental service to the Lord. This transcendental contact with the Supreme is called Brahma Samsparsha. We mentioned in the beginning the word Atma can mean a few things, so it's not entirely clear. Well, it is now entirely clear what Atma means, because Srila Prabhupada is so to the point and so unambiguous in his own inimitable way. Classic Srila Prabhupada purport here, where he makes it inescapable what the practical conclusion of this text as taught by his acharyas is. You have to surrender to Krishna. You have to render loving, transcendental loving service unto Krishna. This is the Brahma Samsparsham talked about here. This is the Sukham Uttamam talked about in the previous verse, the Brahma Bhutam, ityadi. Okay, so in this verse, Sridhar Swami says, he's talking about what does a person gain who is already perfect? Evam anena prakarena sada atmanam mano yunjan vashikurvan. This is the same idea. Being fully engaged in devotional service. This is the sadatmanam, being fully engaged. Only if you're fully engaged does it work. If you are fully engaged, then you become automatically empowered, if you will, to control the senses by the extreme potency of the process of bhakti. Nothing else can compare. It is so strong, bhakti. And visheshena sarvatmanagatam kalmasham yasyatam yogi anayasena brahmana samsparasho. Avidya nivartakaham. The touch with the contact with the Supreme, Brahma Samsparsha, which Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has, or Baladev himself has actually paraphrases, he glosses it as Paramatmanubhavam, direct experience of Paramatma. Do you have direct experience of Paramatma? Raise your hand if you have direct experience of Paramatma. Actually, you can all raise your hands. We do. Maybe not all the time. That is the trick. But all of us have some experience that Paramatma is within the heart. A pure devotee is always in touch with the Paramatma. This is how Baladev Vidyabhushan takes Brahma Samsparsha. As you can see, Srila Prabhupada takes it to the next step. He's talking about Bhagavan Samsparsha. Krishna himself only mentioned Brahma Samsparsha. We have all three. Brahma, Paramatma, Bhagavan. They're all the same. How do we know this? Who knows the verse I'm thinking of? From 1st Canto, chapter 2. What is the verse? Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdite. The same transcendental, non-dual, spiritual essence is called Brahman if our approach is impersonal. He is called Paramatma if we're a little bit more in tune with what he wants. And he's called Bhagavan if we're ready to surrender to him. Same. So, Here Krishna is mentioning Brahma Samsparsha. Baladev Vidyabhushan says it means Paramatma. He doesn't want to burn out too many readers by making it too personal, perhaps, because you have to consider your audience all the time. But Srila Prabhupada is fearless, Abhayacharan. And he's directly telling us this means surrender to Krishna into pure devotional service. That's what it means. Okay. Brahmabhutam. So, what does it mean when we come to this Brahmabhutam stage? Baladev Vidyabhushan says, Sakshat krita vivikta avir bhavita ashtagunaka atma surupam. We have as our ontological essence, our actual spiritual identity is characterized by 8 things. What are those 8 things? You don't get hungry. You don't get thirsty. You don't age. You don't die. You don't grieve. You are not different from what you say. This one South Indian, I was in a temple, Venkataramana temple in South India. And Pujari I was speaking with, he quoted a very nice shloka that I've on occasion liked to quote ever since. He says, Manasyekam, Vachasyekam, Karmanyekam, Mahatmanaha. The broad-minded soul, what he says, what he thinks, and what he does, it's all one thing only. Manasyanyam, Vachasyanyam, Karmanyanyam, Duratmanaha. That means that the rascal, what he says is one thing, what he's thinking about is a different thing, and what he does is a third thing. You see? So the symptom of the soul is that he is vyavasayatmika buddhi, having this character, only Krishna. I remember long time ago, one reporter, I think, was doing an interview talking with Tamal Krishna Goswami. And he said, the problem with you people is that you have one-track minds. Your mind is only, y'all's only Krishna. That's your problem. You can't think of anything else. Tamal Krishna Goswami, without missing a beat in his characteristic way, he immediately replied, no, we actually have multi-track minds, but all those tracks are on Krishna. So, anyway, the soul is like this, and therefore, what is the real constitution of the soul? The one positive aspect of the soul that's been mentioned in this list. You didn't hear it carefully because I just breezed through it. But in his Bhagavad Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami elaborates this at great length. According to Vedanta Sutra and other teachings of the great acharyas, the soul has essentially 2 characteristics. One is that it is eternal, and the other one is that it has bliss. You cannot have bliss unless you are situated in your eternal constitutional position. We heard this again this morning. You want a personal, loving relationship. Everyone. There's no denying this. Even those persons who are impersonalists, they go home to their wife. They don't want to go home and have dinner with a light. Is it correct? Of course. That means that this is the real thing. Bhakti. This is the actual nature. Brahmabhutam. So, therefore, Baladev Vidyabhushan warms it up a little bit. Says, Paramatma Anubhavam. Direct experience of the Paramatma. And Srila Prabhupada makes it absolutely unambiguous in his typical way. I'll read the purport again because it's very short. Self-realization means knowing one's constitutional position in relationship to the Supreme. The individual soul is part and parcel of the Supreme, and his position is to render transcendental service to the Lord. This transcendental contact with the Supreme is called Brahma Samsparsha. All right. Is there anything else that we have to discuss here? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur adds one more thing. Atyantam sukham ashnute. Actually, Sridhar Swami defines this. Atyanta sukham. Aparimita sukham. Unlimited, unfettered happiness, you can say. Aparimita. Immeasurable happiness. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur characterizes this sukham ashnute as jivan mukto bhavati, to become liberated even while living. You can fully embody and realize and become, as it were, this verse in this material world, in your life, if you follow the simple formula given by Srila Rupa Goswami. What is that? Iha yasya harer dasye karmana manasa vacha nikilashwapyavasthasu jivan mukta suchyate. The definition of jivan mukta, according to Rupa Goswami, is when a person he may appear to be a pound, shilling, pence man, as we were discussing earlier. He's counting money. Srila Prabhupada used to say that Mayavadi gurus, the yogis, if you try to bring them money sometimes to advertise themselves as being very renounced, say, no. And Prabhupada said, no, I'm not like that. You bring me money, I say, yes. Because he's using it, not for himself. Look what Prabhupada did. He's using it wisely. So, if you only use your mind for Krishna, if you only use your words for Krishna, and if you only use your activities for Krishna, then you're considered liberated even while living. You don't have to grow 4 arms or 2 heads or anything like that. You just give your mind to Krishna totally, sadatmanam. It's been qualified here already. Sada. What is the word somebody used? Sarvatmana gatam. Sarvatmana. You're wholeheartedly. You give your mind wholeheartedly, 100%. Always. Satatam yogi, Krishna says elsewhere. Always a yogi. Not just in the morning. Always. Because later on in the day, morning is sattva guna time. Passion becomes, during the day, very passionate, and evening, nighttime becomes ignorant. It's hard to stay focused. Focus. Focus means dharana. That's the other stage. After pratyahara, then you have dharana. Then you have dhyana. Then you have samadhi. In this way. We can use these principles in bhakti-yoga also. So when we give our mind completely to Krishna, when we only talk about Krishna, raise your hand if you only talk about Krishna. Be honest. Only talking about Krishna. 24/7. Namostute. I don't think any of the others will say that. So if you only talk about Krishna, if you only think about Krishna, and if you only do what Krishna wants, not what you want, what he wants, this is Jivan Mukti. Even while you're living. You don't have to wait until after you die. Right now, if you want, you just have to make this choice. The elevator door is open, but it's not going to remain open forever. It's only open for a few minutes. And similarly, this lifetime is a short window of opportunity. The older you get in this life, the more you realize it actually doesn't last that long. Subjectively, I can share with you my own personal experience. Time speeds up when you get older. It speeds up the older you get. It just years fly by like days used to pass when you get older. So, something to think about. All right. So these are some thoughts. Again, to put this in context, Krishna is elaborating at some length here. How to control this mind. This is our struggle since time immemorial. How to control this mind. And he's, by way of illustrating what he's already said, Shanai Shanai Ruparamed, Ityadi. And what else did he say? What is that? He told Arjuna, yes, it's very difficult, no doubt. But by constant practice and detachment, you can do this. So how do you control the mind? How do you beat the mind into submission, as we've been discussing? You chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And again, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Especially in the early morning. and especially here in Vrindavan, and especially now during Kartika Mas, Damodara Mas. We have a few days, 20-something days left. Utilize this opportunity while you can, because you don't know if you can finish this month, do you? You don't know if you'll wake up tomorrow morning, do you? No. You don't know that you won't wake up after a stroke, you're completely unable to talk, do you? One friend of mine in Los Angeles, she's now living in Mayapur. Actually, she's now here in Vrindavan at the moment. She woke up one day and couldn't see anything. No explanation, just blind all of a sudden. It can happen. Don't think that everything that all the assets that you're taking for granted now, they're not granted. They're temporarily on loan, and they can be removed at any point, and you have no clue as to what the game plan is. No clue. A good manager keeps people in the dark. So, mama maya duratyaya. We are now in the stewardship of Mahamaya, because our attitude requires some adjustment. And, well, Krishna says to Arjuna in the Bhagavad-Gita at the end, he says, you can do this, you can enjoy in this material world without me as you wish. You can surrender to me, and Shashvatam Padam Avyayam, you will get the eternal supreme destination. You can enjoy eternity, knowledge, and bliss and full reciprocation with me forever. That you can have if you want. But I'm not going to force you. Yate chasita takuru. You do what you want, ultimately. But understand that if you choose to do something else, then you're going to be placed under Maya's care, and she's going to beat the living daylights out of you. It may happen in one life, or it may happen over many lifetimes, but you're going to suffer. So this is Krishna's, indirectly it's his mercy. Like a parent. Sometimes a parent has to hand over a naughty child to a stern uncle. So we're all in that situation. We've all misused our independence. We're all criminals, actually. We have a criminal mentality, and we have to work that out now while we can. This is the best opportunity. Right now, right here. And we have the best guidance under the form of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who has taught us how to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Any other questions on text 28 or anything? Yes.
I just remember about telling that we cannot be proud what we have next moment, what will happen. Arjuna says that Krishna, when he was there, he was fully empowered. Once Krishna withdrew everything, we cannot be...
It's not ours. Borrowed plumes.
Same chariot, same, borrowed plumes.
Whether it's coming directly from Krishna or whether it's coming through indirectly through your karma, either way you cannot hold on to it forever. Somebody beyond your control is managing this. This is the point. It's a hard pill to swallow. Much better people prefer, most people, ordinary people, mundane people, they prefer to just, like ostriches, they stick their head in the sand and pretend that the ugliness is not there. They drown themselves in movies and intoxication and social life and so many things that people do in this world. Well, what about death? No, don't be so, what's wrong with you? You people are so negative. Or they say, he must have had some bad experiences in life. The mind, see how rebellious it is. Mind doesn't want to accept. Therefore we chant, because it's understood. If the mind is infected, this is the best medicine. Just like jaundice. Jaundice, if you take sugar candy, you hate it. It's sugar, it's sweet, but it doesn't taste like that when you're sick. So this is what Rupa Goswami says. All right, so we can stop now. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.